G'day guys and welcome back to your English Aussie. Liverpool are in tatters, Leeds are rolling and Aston Villa are now in the title race. Today I'm going to talk through all the best defenders, midfielders and forwards by each price point for you to look at for game week 16. So strap on your boots and let's jump straight into the video. So first up on this list, we've got the less than £4.5 million defenders. Van Heck's just about sneaked in here since his price has now risen to 4.5 million. The defenders that I do want to talk about in this list, Mukiele and Alderete of Sunderland. Sunderland now starting to go on quite a difficult fixture run. Obviously, having the 3-0 loss to Man City, they do have to play them again in game week 19. And before that, they do have Newcastle and Brighton. Both teams definitely capable of scoring some goals. Joe Rodon of Leeds. Leeds just continue to impress, especially at home, make things really difficult for opposition teams. 3-3 against Liverpool last week. A really great result from them. Joe Rodon, Bijo at the back now. Definitely provide some interesting options. I do actually think Bijo, I think now at 3.9, maybe even 3.8 million, provides another interesting option in that Leeds back line. And I perhaps would be looking at him over Joe Rodon as we go forwards. Finally, Hartman of Burnley. Given that he's on set pieces, corners for Burnley, I think I just slightly prefer him to Esteve. However, Esteve is currently sporting a 10.53 defensive contributions per 90, which is a really nice DEFCON stat. Moving on to the 4.5 to 5.4 million mid-price defenders. Right at the top of the list, we do have Mark Gahey here of Crystal Palace. Those of you that tuned into my deadline stream last week will have heard me talk about how I do think that bringing in Mark Gahey is a nice option, along with the Daniel Munoz, two of my favourite defenders at the moment. Palace with a tricky fixture with Man City in game week 16. However, after that, I really don't mind bringing in a Gahey into the team. He is someone, as I mentioned on the live stream this weekend, that does step out of the back three, really, for Palace. With the ball, the only one out of him, Lacroix and Richards, and then just does find himself in those little half spaces on the left-hand corner of the box, and does just put in those crosses right across to the back post for Crystal Palace. It is a way that they do manage to break through the lines, especially against teams that sit back against them and force them to come out and play a little bit more aggressive. So Gahey, an interesting option there. Chalobah of Chelsea, obviously a big threat from corners. Here he is someone who is just a bit of a goal threat. Not too fantastic for defensive contributions. 8.55, not too bad, but could be better. And really nice for baseline bonus for Chelsea. Lacroix and Richards, again, I think if I were to pick between the Palace defenders around this price point, I do prefer Gahey as the number one pick. But Lacroix and Richards for DEFCON are right about the same at 10.4 and 10.39 respectively for the DEFCON. Between the two of those, I think equal for picking. I think Gahey just edges it out as my number one. Matty Cash of Aston Villa is a really interesting one. Villa have West Ham and Man United over the next 2 game weeks. They are at the moment in the title race after getting a 2-1 win over Arsenal to draw them, I believe, within 5 points of the leaders, which is really miraculous given that at the start of the season we were talking about how they couldn't score a single goal. And I did say that I do think that Unai Emery could turn it around. He is a fantastic manager and he just continues to get it done. Other options to consider here, Senesi of Bournemouth. Again, Bournemouth go on quite a nice fixture run now for the next 3 games, specifically from an attacking perspective, but also defensively. Man United, Burnley and Brentford, all teams that they do have potential to keep a clean sheet against. Obviously a DEFCON monster, 12.64 defensive contributions per 90 for Senesi, a really nice stat to keep an eye on. Dan Burn of Newcastle obviously got taken off after 62 minutes and did actually get the clean sheet this week, despite Newcastle conceding a late goal to Burnley. I do think on this Newcastle fixture run, he is my favourite of all the Newcastle defenders, but it did concern me that he did start a left back last week and Fabian Schär and Malik Thiaw started in those centre-back roles. So for me, I think still Burn is my favourite option, but definitely one to keep an eye on as we go forward, as I would hope that he slots into the centre-back role and Lewis Hall ends up on that left-back slot for Newcastle. O'Reilly for Manchester City, Aitner, he goes off to AFCON. I think O'Reilly is quite locked in that left-back spot as we go forwards over the next few weeks. Manchester City with some great fixtures, and I think he's a really nice pick. Dan Ballard falls into line with the rest of those Sunderland defenders. He does have slightly better DEFCON stats than the rest of them. However, obviously Sunderland with some tricky fixtures going forwards. And Joachim Anderson of Fulham at 4.5 million. Great DEFCON at 10.92 per 90 and a really nice fixture run over the next four of Burnley, Nottingham Forest, West Ham and Crystal Palace. Could be someone to look at bringing into your team this week for game week 16. Definitely someone I have got my eye on. Moving on to the expensive defenders, Daniel Munoz at the moment pulled out of the Palace game with a knee injury. There are some rumours out there swirling around about some other things going on with Daniel Munoz, but as they are unconfirmed at the moment, I don't want to comment and spread rumours on that. As Glasner said, he thought he was out with a knee injury, and as far as we go, we're going to stick with that. Gabriel as well, still injured for Arsenal, but as soon as he comes back and comes back to full fitness, we'll be straight back in my fantasy team. He is a must-have as soon as he's available. Jurriën Timber for Arsenal. They do have Wolves and Everton in the next two games. I think are two nice fixtures for Arsenal. Jurriën Timber at 6.5 mil, quite expensive for me. But if you do want to get into that Arsenal defence, I think him or Calafiori could be some nice options. For me, I would actually slightly prefer Calafiori at the 5.8 million price point now that Timber has shifted inside to that centre-back role and Ben White is playing on the right-back role. Calafiori is still inverting into the midfield role for Arsenal, which does mean he gets up a little bit higher up the pitch than Jurriën Timber. Ruben Diaz there for Manchester City, along with Josko Gvardiol here are two options that you might want to consider if you are looking at a Manchester City defender, maybe from a goal scoring perspective and you don't like O'Reilly. Just a couple of options to consider there. And Virgil van Dijk of Liverpool, when will we be taking him out of our side? 11 great defensive contributions for 90, but Liverpool just can't keep a clean sheet for love nor money at the moment. I think I'm still sticking with him for one more week or maybe a few more weeks as we do go across to Wolves in game week 18. But I think a lot of managers similar to me are starting to lose their patience with Liverpool and with Virgil van Dijk. Who did miss a couple of nice chances, actually, in the Liverpool game. Moving on to the midfielders and the cheap midfielders, and somebody is emerging here, which is Harry Wilson of Fulham. 5.2 million for Harry Wilson. He has been starting the last few game weeks for Fulham. They do have a few players going away for AFCON. Iwobi, Chukwueze and Calvin Bassey all going off to AFCON for Fulham. I think Harry Wilson's minutes are looking quite good over this fixture run. It is really nice for Fulham with Burnley, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Crystal Palace and Liverpool in the next five, who all really you could be scoring some goals against. Probably Crystal Palace being the most difficult fixture on that run. Really an interesting cut price option. 4 goals and 3 assists already so far this season. Does stand him in some quite nice stead. He is also on some direct set pieces for Fulham as well. Really nice cultured left foot there for Harry Wilson. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall at the top there at 5.1. Granit Xhaka and Cullen we do speak about quite frequently, so won't continue on with those ones. On to the mid-price midfielders. Again, really, these guys are bringing some exceptional value if you do have the right players at the right time in your team. Declan Rice for Arsenal, still on corners, still on set pieces for them. Still a really nice pick, even at 7.1 million. Another Arsenal player that is a little bit interesting is Mikel Merino. However, as you saw, Gyökeres coming on at half-time for Arsenal, it does look like he is going to come back in and start up front again for Arsenal going forwards. For Mikel Merino, despite his rich run of form over the last few games. Bruno Guimaraes for Newcastle, just the heartbeat of that Newcastle side in the central midfield, does a bit of everything, takes corners, takes set pieces, absolutely brilliant player for Newcastle, scored direct from a corner, the 20th ever corner scored directly from in the Premier League. Bruno Guimaraes, 5 goals and 4 assists so far this season. definitely keep him in mind as someone that could be a really nice pick and potentially someone that I might be bringing into my team this week with Newcastle's rich run of fixtures. Minte at Brighton. Minte at Brighton, really nice for assists. Struggles to get on the goals. Again, has some trouble with his finishing from time to time. I would say a medium run of games for Brighton. Liverpool 50-50. Sunderland, again, quite a good defensive side so far before a trip to Arsenal in 18, which is very difficult. And then West Ham and Burnley in 19 and 20, some nice fixtures. I think you can wait on Minte if you are looking for a midfielder. Potentially from game week 19 onwards, he feels like a nice pick. Anderson of Nottingham Forest at 62 points, just someone to keep ticking over. He does look like he has been a little bit more attacking under Sean Dyche so far and is still getting those defensive contribution points at 13.27 DEFCON per 90. Obviously, you're needing 12 for a midfielder to pick up those additional 2 points for defensive contributions. Finally, Morgan Rogers of Aston Villa. I think he is a really nice option for Aston Villa. 6.9 million. Aston Villa are really starting to come into their own at the moment. Unai Emery has done a fantastic job as the manager of that team. Continues to build Aston Villa from strength to strength from a place where they just really weren't scoring goals earlier. I think Morgan Rogers definitely someone to seriously consider as we go forward, despite the stats maybe not backing it up in terms of expected goals and expected assists. Talking of brilliant managers, if you have ever fancied yourself as a bit of a football connoisseur or knowledge base, you think that maybe you have the skills to manage your own team or make your own decisions on players, check out this new game. It's called Footium. I'll show you a little clip of some of the game footage. I've got really addicted to it lately. I think it's a really great game. I'll put a link down below in the description if any of you want to sign up. The new season is starting tomorrow, season 14. Dimitar Berbatov is in there. He's got a team going. Really interesting game. Click my link down below if you are interested. Check this out.
This is Footium, a new online football management game where you actually own your own players, club, and manage the team, competing in daily matches against other managers. You start by signing up on the Footium website with an email address. Once you're in, you can purchase your own club, complete with a badge, a stadium, and a squad of players. You can choose to play for free as a caretaker manager while you understand the game, or buy your own club with a card. Every player has stats that matters, things like stamina, leadership, and which-footedness they are. These aren't just numbers, they affect how your tactics play out on the pitch. You set your formation, pick your lineups, and compete against other managers in daily matches. Win games, climb the divisions, win rewards, and build your football management legacy. And finally, because players are digital assets, that means you can trade them on the marketplace. So you can scout bargains, sell talent, and build a squad that meets your style.
I've left a link down below in the description to check out Footium if you are interested. Now, let's move straight back into the video with the expensive midfielders. Right at the top of the list, Antoine Semenyo. I know a lot of people have been moving him out of their team of late. I would be bringing him in right now. The next 3 game weeks are really nice for Bournemouth. Semenyo's been very unlucky over the last few weeks. It's almost like Evan Nilsson has been stopping him from getting FPL points on multiple occasions so far over the last few weeks. I still think Semenyo's good to go and nice to have in your team. A real full circle I've come from game week 1. Phil Foden, fantastic value again. He tends to score in these little runs. He's had those 3 game weeks in a row now. If you haven't already got Phil Foden, I would look to bring him in just over these next sort of 3 to 4 or 5 game weeks. Although I do have a funny feeling that he has had his little run for this season, and then he might go through a few little tricky games where he doesn't return and get some points before exploding back into life again. Bruno Fernandes of Manchester United. Again, Manchester United with some nice fixtures coming up. Bournemouth before a tricky 2 games against Aston Villa and Newcastle, and then Wolves and Leeds in 20. Some really nice fixtures for Bruno if you do have him. Cody Gakpo of Liverpool, again, unlucky not to get a return in that game against Leeds. Had a shot saved, an assist that didn't quite get there. Really, if you routes to points. Really important player in Liverpool's team. 0.454 expected goal involvements per 90. Really high for one of the players that is not on penalties, and actually probably the highest in this range that are not on penalties. Key player for Liverpool, in my opinion, and someone that I would expect, if Arne Slot is in the right mind, would continue to start each week for Liverpool. Bukayo Saka for Arsenal, obviously a really nice fixture against Wolves this week. On pens for Arsenal, again, another one that was a little bit unlucky this week, just to come away with only 1 assist. Definitely someone to consider bringing into your team in the near future. Moving on to the cheap forwards. Fleming at the top of the list here for Burnley, 5.3 million on penalties, probably the only one to talk about in this list. Mark Guiu down there at 4.2 million, just if you are looking for a cheap budget enabler. On to the mid-price forwards. Right at the top of the list, we do have Igor Thiago of Brentford. Again, just looking so involved in the games every week. A couple of chances again this week for Brentford. If you were watching the game closely, he was really getting into some nice positions, making some good runs into the channels behind the defence. And with Leeds and Wolves over the next 2 game weeks, I will definitely be bringing in Igor Thiago to my team, I think, this week. Other options for you in this price range, Danny Welbeck of Brighton. As we've spoken about Brighton, reasonable fixture run, but potentially can wait till 19. Maybe you want to go Thiago now and move to Welbeck a little bit later. Raul Jimenez, the final one to think about, at 6.2 million. Burnley, Nottingham Forest, West Ham over the next 3. If you are looking for a bit of a differential and don't want to go for Igor Thiago, Raul Jimenez is a nice little differential option there. And then on to the expensive forwards. Erling Haaland, of course, the main forward, must have in your team. Manchester City with a great fixture run. I'd definitely be bringing him in if you don't already have him. Walter there at Newcastle, quite a nice fixture run for Newcastle. However, I do prefer potentially an Igor Thiago over Walter, although if I did have the 3 forwards, he would probably be my 3rd choice at the moment, potentially alongside Raul Jimenez. Keep an eye out for Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike at Liverpool. Whoever gets that starting role over the next few games really might be an interesting run, especially when they get Wolves, Leeds and Fulham at 18, 19 and 20. If Liverpool can find a little bit of form, that will be all the more important to be looking at some of their players. If you have enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a like or subscribe, or don't. No pressure. Thank you so much for watching all the way through to the end. This has been your English Aussie. Have a fantastic game week, everyone. Hope you use those 5 free transfers wisely. I will catch you later, guys.